So hello everybody, thank you for joining us today, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with an old friend of mine, Jenny Harper, and I'm really excited to introduce you to her. She is a herbalist, and she's been a herbalist for quite many years now, and I think she lives a very exciting life. She lives on a boat. And I first met Jenny, I think we're getting on to 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
When we both worked at Neal's Yard Remedies, which is still around. Neal's Yard Remedies is around. It's known nowadays as a sort of cosmetics, natural cosmetics retail outlet. But I think from my perspective, I hope it's fair to say, when I was working there, it was almost a bit more centered in the apothecary, in giving advice to customers about aromatherapy and herbalism and natural remedies of all sorts. And that's where I met Jenny. And at that time when I first met her, I don't think you were a herbalist yet, were you? You were thinking about doing the training. So Jenny, thank you so much for doing this interview. Thank you. Brilliant. Interview sounds very formal. It's going to be a nice chat. It's going to be a friendly chat. So I introduce yourself. I mean, how did you get into herbalism, and what is it that makes you feel so passionate about it?
Well, I got into herbalism, I think, from when I was a kid, but like a lot of people in this modern world, I just completely went the other way. As a teenager in my early 20s, I was just all about the city and, going out, and just didn't even think about, dandelion or trees or anything really, apart from sitting in the park chatting to my friends. So when I had my daughter, that's when it turned. So in my sort of mid-late 20s, I suddenly became aware of the need to look at what I could do for her health in a gentle way, what I could do away from the doctor. And I'll give you an example. I had a really lovely friend who was into home remedies, and my daughter had screaming earache. And I rang the doctor. It was the middle of the night, and I rang her, and she told me how to make garlic oil for the ear. And I made the garlic oil. It only takes a few minutes. Put the drops in her ear, and within 10 minutes she was not screaming and asleep. So I cancelled the doctor, and it was like, wow, this is just amazing. I need to learn more. So it sort of progressed with allotments, gardening, a job in gardening, just starting to get my hands back in the earth and finding that I just loved it. I'm an earthy person, and I didn't realise that until my late 20s. I'd forgotten.
Yeah, and we don't sometimes, do we? It's like we go through cycles in life, don't we? And then come back to ourselves over and over again.
Yeah, I was a teenage heir, I just went, whoo, and then just coming back down to the earth was just absolutely amazing. And then I met my first plant ally, if you like, Rosemary. I was living in a flat, and it had a lovely south-facing sash window where I had my table, and rosemary, massive rosemary plant, and it just used to waft in like a natural essential oil diffuser, and I just used to feel really good. And I thought, it must be this rosemary coming in. And I learned that it's really good for low blood pressure. And I have low blood pressure, and you can tend to feel a bit foggy in the head, a bit dizzy sometimes, a bit low in energy. It warms, and it just warms and lifts. So it just went on like that, really gradually, just meeting remedies, meeting the kitchen, meeting the earth, meeting a plant. And then, as I said, I came into Neal's Yard Remedies as a broke gardener, needed work in the winter. And I was just really fortunate. At that time, it was like an apothecary, and everyone got educated. So all the staff were educated. It was really encouraged, wasn't it? Yes. It was like, it was great. And so I got sponsored to do the Natural Medicine Foundation course. And that was just like, wow, that was the flower remedies, the herbs, the homeopathy, the Chinese perspective, a whole plethora of natural medicine, the basic foundation. And it took me, I mean, I knew instinctively, I knew I wanted to do herbs, but I was so excited by it all. I got a bit sort of like, oh, do I do acupuncture? Oh, do I do nutrition?
But that's the beautiful thing. That is the beautiful thing when you really start looking at and researching natural remedies. And, you know, like yourself, a whole world opened up to me in many ways when I started working at Neal's Yard Remedies. It's like there is so much choice, and that's one of the things that I'm really keen to do, and I'm hoping this is going to be a series of interviews with various people. One of the things I'm really keen to just kind of reintroduce to people is that there is so much choice. There are so many things we can do to support ourselves, our emotions, our health, our physical health, naturally, so many things. So I'm really keen to talk about the herbs. I mean, I what you were saying, I mean, if you don't mind talking about it, about yourself having the low blood pressure, and what struck in my mind is that, you know, nowadays it almost seems to me that maybe it would almost seem brave if you have low blood pressure to actually not go to the doctors. And I'm not, you know, I'm not saying don't go to the doctors, that's not what I'm saying at all, but what I'm saying is to have that frame of mind where you think, well, what can I do for myself? And are you happy to just kind of talk about that frame of mind that you have and still have, and, you know, what, especially maybe at the time when you didn't know about herbs so well, that you were thinking, well, what shall I do for myself? Just I think a lot of people struggle with that.
I think that, well, I mean, there's a plethora of information out there now, but I would say start with looking at what you might want to do for yourself right now. I mean, with the rosemary, I came across it by accident. I just felt better, but maybe even that, maybe just noticing what makes you feel a little bit better. Or if something is particularly overwhelming, like trying to get to sleep, just thinking about what might be around you that could help that, even if it's like you said about all the different natural medicine principles. You could try giving yourself a foot rub. Most people have heard about lavender oil. You could try putting a bit of lavender oil on your pillow. You could drink a bit of lavender tea. It's about, I mean, there's a slight leap of faith, if you like. I mean, I've never really been in the mindset of rushing to the doctors. I hated my family doctor. I really did. My mum adored him, but I did not like him. I found him a very unpleasant man. But yeah, it's like just giving something a try, and just seeing and just remembering that herbs, particularly herbs, will not give you, they might make you feel more relaxed, but you might want to try them regularly. And just give it a go. I'm not advocating, if you've got, you know, really high blood pressure, to, you know, not go to the doctor if you've got chest pain. But if you've just got slight palpitations because you're stressed about something, and we're all stressed at the moment, really, all there is stress around us is how we manage it. If we're not managing it very well, there are some lovely calming, you could even go to the supermarket and have a look on the sleepy tea, the ingredients on the sleepy tea. That will give you an idea this time of year. You can look up garden remedy, you know, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can kind of start to see what might be around you, for what teas might help you. That's not really answered the question, but
no, I think it's answered the question really well. And actually, I think that you made a couple of really important points, which is, you know, first of all, the mindset. And I think that, you know, thinking about it, a lot of friends that I've had, and a lot of people I've spoken to who have, you know, a similar mindset to yourself and me, for example, who, you know, the doctor maybe isn't the first port of call, and we do, you know, we do just, you know, look at other areas. There's always been something that has kind of like triggered that in the past, like you not liking your family doctor, for example. And for me, it was, what was it? There were probably many things, to be honest. I'm trying to make one thing, but there's probably been a series of things throughout my childhood and my teenage years that made me think, well, you know, I don't really like that route. But the other important point that you really made, I think, was leap of faith. Because it is actually, that sounds like a big thing, a leap of faith, but I think that a leap of faith can actually just be trust in yourself. Just trust in yourself and the awareness that you have of your own body and how it feels and how it responds to you. And, you know, I do see people in some ways nowadays, actually, almost because of what's happened, I do see people, some people returning to that, just stopping and slowing down and thinking, well, what is my, because not everybody can go to the doctors at the moment, not everybody
No,
can get
it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult. So there's almost a necessity arisen now to look at the more traditional remedies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's become that necessity where you sort of have to tune in and listen to what your body wants. You know, you have to. I love what you said about foraging, and foraging is something that I've sort of really wanted to get into. And I'm going to be honest, I have a lazy streak, which is why I don't get myself out there actually picking things. I foraged a little bit in my own garden.
The garden's coming along.
So with regards to foraging, what are the easiest things that you can forage in sort of like an English countryside or on an English, or even where you are, like by a towpath, by a canal? What can you forage for that you can actually either eat nutritiously or use as herbs?
Yeah, well, I mean, could start with nettle. I challenge anyone to go through a walk and not find nettle.
Yes, I've got some actually behind my garden growing. I've been meaning to go pick some because I love nettle soup. Absolutely, yes, one of my favourite soups.
Yes, with a little bit of nutmeg. So, and you can also collect the seeds of the nettle and use them in food through the winter. Dandelion leaves, dandelion roots. This time of year we can collect roots. Plantain flower leaves and flower heads are an amazing remedy. You need to this is my book, and I got this book ages ago. Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Roger Phillips.
Yep.
Roger Phillips, and he does it by pictures through the year. It's amazing. So you can go out and you can see, you might not know what plantain looks like or something, and you can go out and you can pick something that you find easy, like you say, what's easy, and then you can look through a book like this or look online and see what. That's a really nice way of doing it, you know, just going out and getting drawn to something is a really nice thing to do. And it's amazing how quite often it can be the one that would be really nice for you to take at the moment. Yeah, I mean, blackberries, rose hips, elderberries, all the berries in the hedgerow. Yeah, there's just so many. I mean, right now, rose hip, I just went out and got this from the towpath.
Some of that grows on the way to my daughter's school when I drop her off. I see the rose hips growing on the side.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite herbs. Rose petal. I'm drinking rose petal tea. I could talk about that in a minute, but rose hips are still really good. We've not had really a hard enough frost, but I don't mind a frost on them so long as they're still deep red. You've got a good medicine there. You've got vitamin C.
Fabulous. So what do you do with those then? If somebody came across those and they wanted to pick some and eat them, what do they actually do? Is it just a case of picking and eating, or do they have to prepare them in any way?
They have to prepare them. You have to if you want just rose hip shells to put in a tea, you need to cut them in half and scoop out the hairs, and then you would dry them, and then you could have them in your tea. You could mix them with whatever tea you want, or just drink rosehip tea on its own. If you wanted rosehip syrup, there's loads of recipes online, but you're putting the whole rosehip in, and then you're kind of mushing it and straining it, and then you add your sugar, and you make a really nice rosehip syrup, which is, you know, the recipes go back hundreds of years for rosehips, because it's free vitamin C, free antioxidants. All the red and purple berries have got your antioxidants and your vitamin C. Bay leaves, everyone can find bay leaves at the moment. Bay leaves are amazing. They're like, they've got an antiviral, they've got a stomach digestive toning, they're warming, they're aromatic.
Most people probably only really think of it as in terms of cooking, but they've got all these medicinal properties as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is my winter warming tea that I'm drinking, because I told you before we started I caught a chill on the fells. So I'm drinking my winter warming tea at the moment, which has got the bay leaves in it. And as I said, it warms your digestion. This time of year, it keeps your fats digested. So it keeps your blood clear, which is a really good thing, keeps your blood moving. And then I've got my berries in it, my elderberry and hawthorn berry, and I've got orange peel. Now I know that's not foraging, but it's foraging from the supermarket or the market, but you really want an organic. When you're going to use the skin and the zest of a citrus fruit, you want organic, because they spray them. And this is, orange peel and cinnamon are my two non-natives. But you get the orange peel, and that's a bit of digestive and vitamin C. So it's really easy to dry little slices of orange peel. And I've got cinnamon bark as well. Cinnamon bark for warmth.
Fabulous.
It
sounds delicious. Gorgeous. And very warming.
It is gorgeous. So tasty.
And, you know, really quite simple. That's the thing. I think a lot of people maybe think that, it's so difficult to go and pick herbs, and then you have to wait for them to dry, and so on and so on. But actually, I don't think a lot of it's that difficult. And actually, some of it's just time management, isn't it? Once you're used to doing it, you just fit it into your life.
And you did a really good thing on lemon balm, I remember.
I've still got some.
We can bring some of our Mediterranean herbs indoors in the winter. I mean, this is my time, and this is still lush. It's not going to grow anymore, it's not going to put on new growth, but it's still lush. And I can like snip bits of this off. And
you don't need a big kitchen. Jenny lives on a canal boat. You don't need a big kitchen.
There's nothing else on my boat, just herb books and herbs. I got rid of everything else.
Sounds like heaven to me. I don't know if I could fit a family of 3 and 2 cats in, though. I'll think about it. Just briefly going back, if you don't mind, to the nettle, just picking nettle, because one of my very first introductions to foraging was nettle. And this was when I was on sort of like shamanic training camp, and we were like outdoors. We always lived outdoors when we did these trainings, and slept outdoors and all sorts. And, you know, we would, we didn't avoid the supermarkets completely. We did get food from the supermarkets, but we also, when we could, we went out and picked what we could. And nettle was one of those things. And, you know, it hadn't really occurred to me up until I was shown, up until that point, how easy it was to go out, cut some nettle, you know, rinse it down, and then you just stick it in a pot of water to boil, like a soup. You just make soup with it. It's so tasty. And I think we crushed in some garlic and popped in some potatoes as well, I think. If memory was a long time ago, if memory serves me right, that's what we did. And then we just left it to boil like soup, and it was ready in about less than half an hour. Then we scooped it out into plates, and then I think we put some sour cream and chives on the top, and maybe sprinkled a bit of black pepper, and there you have like your nettle soup. And it's so easy to do. And I think it's just, in some ways, it's like it's almost important to get that point across, that actually living with nature and going back to nature and actually doing these things doesn't have to be difficult. I remember I was just kind of in awe at how easy it was, and I thought, I can do this in my own garden.
Yeah, and it's good to start simple, and it is simple, and it can carry on being simple. You know, especially if you're outside all day, for instance, and you work hard, or you think the last thing you want to do is to have to sort of simmer and strain and reduce and you know and do all these complicated things. It's, you know, it's lovely to just pick and boil and make.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
And the information, I think, about what all these plants and things are good for are, like you showed us a minute ago, are in books. You know, there are some books. I've still got my Bartram's book from Neil's Yard, and I still refer to that all the time for medicinal properties particularly. But, you know, nettle, very rich in iron, isn't it? It's very, very rich in iron.
And it used to be called potassium, potassium broth sometimes, because it's really high in potassium, folic acid. Iron, manganese and magnesium. Yeah, it's mineral broth. It really is.
Fantastic. Yeah.
A quick tea of nettle will give you the antihistamine lift. But for the minerals, you want to, like you've just perfectly described, making the soup, which is very quick and easy.
I was also shown how to pick nettles without gloves on, but I've not done it myself. I wear gloves. But I was shown at that time. It's like, this is how you do it.
and then you graduate to the school where you start beating your joints with it to prevent arthritis.
Or with nettle.
Yes, because it's so warming, it just heats the area, so all the nasty toxins that are built in around your knuckles and that, it just all goes, and you've got healthy joints. So you
literally beat yourself. You literally, and is that a thing? That's actually something you can do.
It is a thing. It's the Romanies used to do it.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. I think in some ways it's like too many things like this are sort of read as folklore or old wives' tales and dismissed, but they actually work.
They actually work. And if you look at the side effects of methyltrexylate, or whatever the drug is for arthritis, to prevent it's steroidal and to prevent damage to the knuckles, I mean, I would give nettle a go. Definitely, in any way. I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't eat them raw, but I would definitely try that rather than putting myself through methotrexate.
If anybody at home has tried that, I'd like to know the results, please. I'd be very interested, and I would love your feedback on that. So I'm just, one of the things that it not really surprised me, because I think in the back of my mind I knew, but I hadn't sort of properly done it. I really befriended my garden this summer. And I kind of, like, this spring and summer just gone, I kind of like redid half of it, and I redid the beds. And for the first time, because I've not really done it before, I grew some vegetables in my garden, just very basic, just using the soil that I have, without worrying about, fertilizers, and without worrying about doing it right. I try to find, in some instances, the vegetables that would grow quite easily, and almost even in the wild you can find them. So, the ones that I had a lot of success with, tomatoes, I think everyone finds tomatoes can be quite easy if you've got the room for them. Carrots, they did quite well. I was quite surprised.
Well, you're amazing.
I'm going to get bigger.
Because I can't grow carrots.
Really? I don't. Well, everything I did was without experience and without expectation. So basically, I was just grateful for whatever happened. I wasn't expecting anything really. But I think with carrots, you need quite deep deep pots. So I think I'll get deep pots next time, and my soil's too stony to grow them in the ground.
Yeah, I need to, like fine soil.
Potatoes, I managed to regrow potatoes from a supermarket potato. So I let it grow its eyes and then literally popped it in a bag of soil. I didn't do it in the ground, just because I didn't know if I'd be able to get them out if I grew them in the ground. So I thought I'll do it in a pot first, and that worked. And you know, I was really taken with two things. One, if you kind of release your expectations and don't be too strict with yourself, I think that actually it can be really easy to grow some veg, and you have to accept that some will die as well, some won't make it. I think as long as you accept that, then actually you can have a lot of fun with it. And the second thing that surprised me, because I've got a lot of like just garden herbs that are considered to be weeds, but actually they're herbs, they have medicinal properties. And even things like, I'm going to forget what it's called now, I'm just trying to think, what is it called? Oh, it's gone, it's slipped from my mind. It's a little, it's considered to be a weed, and it grows in the garden. It looks like little cloves or little shamrock, and it's got these yellow flowers.
Celandine.
Maybe, I don't know, but it's full of vitamin C apparently. And one of the things that really surprised me was how many of our weeds that grow in the garden are actually medicinal herbs. Like, I didn't realize the extent. You know, it's like people like pull up their weeds and chuck them away, but it's actually, oh my goodness, you can keep those. And you can, so this summer I pulled up, well, my lemon balm isn't weed, I bought my lemon balm and it's grown into this massive bush. So I dried a huge jar of that, which is going to see us through the winter. And the other one, the new one that I did was plantain. It's the long thin one, so is it ribwort plantain? So not the broad,
ribwort.
Yeah, ribwort plantain, I think. So I have loads of that growing in my garden, making my garden look a little bit ugly. So instead of actually just tucking it away, I just cut the nice leaves, and now I've got plantain, which is really good for coughs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really demulcent. So any irritation on any tissue. Yeah.
And I was really just taken by how many of our weeds have medicinal properties, even the ones that are not even used so much nowadays, like
wood avens is a good one.
Which one?
Wood avens, and lots of people have got it. I did a post on it the other day, and wood avens is like, it's like a wild geranium. It's the geum family. Herb Bennett, like Herb Robert.
Yes.
They've both got medicinal qualities, and very old plants in terms of use. And I was going to talk about the wood avens because it's invasive. So if you've got it, it spreads. So if you pull it up now, it's got all these lovely little roots, and they're like our English clove. And that's about the only one that I know that's got this sort of spicy. So it's like an English spice. It's very like a mild clove. So that really excited me when I found out about that. It's like, wow, we've got like a native spice. I love it.
Fantastic.
For instance.
And I bet you still discover new things every day as well, like every week.
I do. Yeah, of course. It's a life, absolutely a life learning. And I really get you on the you don't have to know it, you just do it and you learn, and it's actually easy. That's exactly the way I was with my first allotment. And you know, I really didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't really go wrong with the potato, but everything else was just like, okay, what's happening here? And like, I planted strawberries, and then all this horsetail came up, which is another one, horsetail, which is a really useful weed. And I had couch grass, which was another really useful weed, but I just gave up because it was so I just laughed and said, okay, I can't beat this horsetail. And what it did was it actually protected my strawberries from getting eaten. So it was really good that I left it. It was lovely.
This is one of the amazing things, though. Do you find that if you kind of let herbs, or even maybe even foods and veg, grow by themselves almost in the wild. I mean, maybe tending to them a little bit, but let it be that the ground, you know, earth will actually look after them herself. Like, it'll actually grow the right things around the right herbs or foods to actually protect it. Maybe not straight away, but it will sort itself out after a couple of years.
Yes, exactly. Self-seeding.
Yeah.
And self-seeding, and the way, if it grows from the under the ground, it will grow one way, the way that it likes, south or away from the conifer, because that's a bit too acidic, you know. So it's so yeah, given time, and if there's a little bit of space, you know, it's not confined into a patio pot, it will yeah, you end up with a cottage garden, if you like, imitating the wild, and that's what happens.
Yeah,
you'll see the patches, and that's the beauty of letting things, letting nature take care of the plants. They become much stronger.
Yeah,
they might not look as, you know, fluffy and big, but they'll be a lot stronger.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that really did surprise me as well with the sort of vegetable growing I did was that, because I was given tomato seeds from a cherry tomato that had been bought in a shop, but from those seeds there were like 4 tomato plants I got, and from those seeds I actually grew was something like 4 or 5 different varieties of tomatoes. And I was like, what's going on here? And apparently I learned that you know, they're crossbred so much before they're sold in the supermarket, you know, so that you get your perfect brand or whatever, that actually it's retained in the genes of the seeds, like, you know, 3 or 4 generations before. So you're getting all kinds of tomatoes growing. So I've saved some of the seeds. I'm going to regrow it next year if I can. I'll see what comes up.
I think that's a really good practice, because I think you return to the strongest strain, if you like.
Yeah.
They crossbreed to sort of get rid of disease or change the color or the ferocity of growth, and but it comes from a grandma or great grandma plant. Yeah. And I think it's quite nice. I've done that with beans, and they've gone back to the original grandfather or grandmother, if you like, plant. Yeah, which is really nice.
Absolutely fascinating. And it just goes to show, well, for me, it goes to show, if you kind of leave things alone, nature knows what it's doing, and it will create the strongest, you know, it will create what's most beneficial for it and everything living on it, you know.
Yeah, I haven't, they're on my shelf somewhere, but I've got some marigold petals, and they're from Marigold Seeds. And that's a lovely one to grow. Calendula Officinalis, that's the English marigold, which is like a desert island herb. And the petals are bright orange. And these seeds I've collected every year since I studied at Springhead in Dorset, the Neal's Yard apothecary garden, which was growing just like you sort of said about, you know, just leaving things to mature and self-seed where they want to, and leaving the ground to take care of itself, you know, not clearing all the leaves away, like allowing this year's growth to die down and mulch into the ground, and that's what feeds it. So yeah, when I picked the seed flower heads from, and this is 2001, so I've kept this marigold going for 19 years.
Oh wow.
And it's just got, it's all orange now. First it used to produce yellow petals as well. Now it's all orange.
I bet it grows really well.
It's lovely. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
So do you find as a herbalist, are you more busy than you were last year? Have you noticed specific changes due to this pandemic and what's happening in the world at the moment with regards to your practice and sort of what clients are wanting?
Yeah, I've got some long COVID patients. That's new. Not that I haven't treated post-viral syndrome, post-viral fatigue. I have, but it's quite tricky. It's a tricky virus that has sort of a mercurial energy, and it does keep sort of coming back. So that's new. There's an awful lot of information being shared between the herbalists in the community, which is fantastic. So that's something new in my practice. We really, not that we haven't done we've done peer reviews of each other in our practice, and you know, we talk a lot about things coming up, but and please don't get me wrong, I'm not glad people have got COVID, and I'm not glad I'm treating it, but to me it is almost like a forerunner of things to come, because I think with the reduction in effect of antibiotics and things, I think we are beginning to see a little bit more acute illness and people wanting to come to us for acute illness treatment, and also prevention. That's gone up as well.
Good. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a joy. That's an absolute joy.
Yeah, because, I mean, I would say whenever I deal with more emotional and energy work, working with flower remedies or shamanic healing or crystal healing, for example. But when anybody comes to me for like, I can feel this coming and I'd like to get myself ready or strengthen myself for it, it is an actual joy. It's like, oh my goodness, yeah. Because you're actually...
Are we weird? I think it is. No, yeah. It is.
It's like you're solving the problem before it starts. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, back in February, March, I was shouting out, chai tea, think chai tea spices, you know, and I was just, and, you know, there was so for instance, I would be giving out advice about warming the digestion and warming the lungs and keeping our core warm. And this is a wonderful preventative for warding off viruses and keeping our lungs clear and not having mucus stuck in our lungs and not having stagnant digestion that's not functioning very well. So yeah, just things like that, strategies for stress. So that's gone up a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, which is wonderful and fits in with my Facebook page, you know, where it is more gentle, yet never mistake gentle for weak, approaches to our health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things I've always liked, you know, about how you approach herbalism, is that in this very holistic way where, you know, you can, you know, yes, you can treat the physical symptoms, yes, you know about the chemistry of the body, but you can look at a person also and understand, you know, emotionally what's not in balance here, you know, and even, you know, if the person is open to it, you know, the more kind of almost astrological or energetic connections with like herbs and what's going on in that part of the body with what could be happening, you know, elsewhere. And I think that's, personally, I think that's very, very valuable. And I don't know, I think that maybe with all this new awareness coming in about ourselves and our bodies and how we fit into the natural world, maybe this will actually come back into our way of living, where more people start to find the value in this and just start to tap into that. What do you think? Do you think you're seeing that kind of thing?
Definitely, I'm seeing it amongst the practitioners. There was a group I joined called the Spiritual Implications of COVID, in terms of practitioners and, you know, how we treat, because more and more herbalists were getting questions about their emotional and their spiritual malaise, if you like. Symptom feelings have gone up. People seem to be getting more sensitive to the deeper layers of ailments. So that was a really interesting group to join. I already started to sort of look at the astrological aspect of growing, in terms of growing. It's a whole new layer of learning, and it's really exciting, and I think a lot of people are getting into it. Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds, that really excites me. And I think that, you know, for me, if there is just like, you know, again, like yourself, I'm not, you know, glad COVID's here or whatever, but if there is, you know, bad things happen in life, and if there's a good thing, you know, really, I think to come out of all this is this kind of like mass awareness, and this, you know, this kind of moving towards just a more open approach to healing, you know, ourselves with all kinds of natural medicines. And hopefully, my hope is that orthodox medicine will actually open its own doors to, you know, an avenue that can be more aligned with that as well. You know, that would be nice.
It would be really nice. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I looked at a lot of the Chinese were sharing their protocols, and you know, it really made me weep with a lot of emotions, because the way their integrated approach is just incredible. Whatever you might say about the Chinese politics, their medicine is just incredible, because they respect and they use the traditional approach, and it really helps the patients. And it's just like my dream that the public health sector opens its doors to practitioners like us to help treat people. Would just be incredible. It would be the best news ever. Not that I'm particularly a big fan of statutory regulation, because I like the diversity of herbalists, but somehow my ideal, you know, that people can get access to herbal medicine, you know, beyond the basic sort of kitchen remedy level. If they needed more treatment, if they had, if they needed help virally protecting and warming their immunity, but they have other conditions, chronic conditions going on, so they need a little bit more advice about what's useful to take. I mean, under our directive at the moment, I mean, I give out 10 minutes free consultation with every mix that I make, if it's just requested, because that's just to check over that things aren't going to interact with other medicines or various things. But yeah, I'd really like to see it more available, which is why I'm also a big fan of free clinics, and there are some free clinics around the country, herbal free clinics. I've run a herbal free clinic for the last 4 years,
and where is that? Where is that? Where are you located?
Well, I'm in Lancashire. I started the southern strand of a free clinic for activists in 2016, and that was on Leith Hill in Surrey.
So the activism, can you talk about your activism quickly? Because actually, you know, I do know that you're very, very involved with protecting the earth, the trees, the planet, whenever you can. And if I've got this right, it was almost like you became a bit more like not a mobile herbalist exactly, but it seemed like you were very involved with activists, and actually there to be able to give out herbal remedies to all these people saving the planet. And I thought it was so cool. Is that something you're still involved with?
Well, I do still treat some of the activists, but the activist dispensary that was mainly funded by Lush, amazing company, it's been split between the herbalists who worked on the clinic, and I've got some on my boat now, because I've still got activists with post-traumatic stress and injuries and various things that they still need help with. So I do, but the actual it was a sort of caravan. We had caravans on camps, and then we would either go out with a pack from the caravan, or activists would come to us, and it was a safe space, and it was a nice space that they could be in and be treated. And it was a really amazing thing to do, because, you know, if you're going to be involved in something where your medicine is coming from the land, you want to protect the land, and it just seemed a right thing to do. Yeah, so there were actually about 6 or 7 or 8 herbalists in all around the country at different sites.
Oh,
Yeah,
fabulous.
so, yeah, and a really beautiful variety of people to treat. Sometimes almost the other way, you know, like right, we really need to go to the hospital, you know, and they would refuse. They had, you know, I mean, my dislike of my family doctor was mild, but some of these people would not. But yeah, you know, we knew what to do. We're professionals, so we knew what to do.
Fabulous. It's good work. It's good work. And, you know, I kind of almost wish more people knew about it for many reasons. Because protecting the environment is always important. I do wish people higher up the chain knew that. But also when you protect the earth and work with the earth in that way, I think the earth also gives back. And, you know, there is a beautiful synchronicity between what you give and what you receive. And that's, I think, it's only by doing, you know, that you really learn, I think, about what the earth can produce for you. It's sort of, you know, I'm sort of wondering, you know, I don't know, it's sort of, I think gardening should be taught in schools, I think. You know, and to be honest, I'm saying this, but I'm trying to convince my daughter to go to gardening club, and she's like, so I've got my work cut out there. But I do think it should be taught at schools. It's so important. Yeah.
No, I'm moving towards that. When you visited the community farm I worked on after I left Neil's Yard, and I went to the community, so this little patch between Neil's Yard and the activist clinic, about 4 years, and I started growing a lot of the herbs that I wanted, but I couldn't necessarily forage around me. And the learning that you get from that, planting the seed and waiting for it to grow and planting it out, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it until it's ready to harvest. On whatever level, whether you want to sit and draw it, whether you just want to be outside smelling it and observing the birds and the animals, on whatever level you want to connect with the plants, going out and being in a garden is just incredible. Yeah, and at the activist camps, there was a couple that actually started gardens because the fracking companies wouldn't go away, so they were quite long term, so there would actually be gardens planted. So some of the activists would grow the herbs and come along and make and dry them and just join in, and we'd have little like mini workshops.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah.
So if people,
it grows on people, the herbs grow on people.
Yes, I actually, you know, I actually have found that just with a few that I've grown in my garden as well, that it's almost like they all greet you in a different way. Like they all kind of, it's like they all have their own personalities. I've got a massive rosemary bush now and the massive lemon balm bush, and you know, there are just a few others that grow naturally in the wild. Borage grows I've got a borage farm pretty much. And it's like they all just kind of, they have their own message for you. They all just greet you in a different way. And yeah, but you don't know unless you do it. So you don't know unless you actually work with them. Yeah.
So when you forage or pick them, that's why it's really nice to, obviously IDing is the most important thing, but also ethics. Like, don't just go up and rip them. You know, you don't just storm into a doctor's house and rip him out of bed and say, come and heal my daughter. You know, the same with the plant, you know, like just stop and ask. And people think maybe that's a bit wacko, but it actually feels really good to do that.
Yep.
And just,
no, I definitely agree.
You know, I definitely say hello.
So if someone wanted to start foraging, like I've never done this before, it's like, where do they start?
Where do they start? Well, they want to preferably take out a book with them. So So like I said about that one,
yeah,
or a pocket guide. And then they go out and they look for, like I said, what they know they want, or what just attracts them. And then they need to really ID it. So you need to ID it.
And is that done best with the
that's
leaves
the
or the
start.
flowers?
It depends on what time of year.
Okay.
In the spring, it can be quite difficult to ID because all the leaves coming up will look quite similar in similar families, like the umbelliferae, and that's the family with yarrow, and with things like cow parsley, the parsleys, and hemlock, which is deadly. You know, so you have to be really very, very careful. So I'm not trying to scare anyone, but you do need to ID. If you can go out to your local herbalist's walk, we do walks, we do towpath walks, we do walks around the edge of fields and parks, you know, on the edges of towns.
And what about if you live in the city? Are there herbalists that do herb walks in cities or near cities?
Yes. Yeah, there are. Yeah,
because this is something, this might be a completely new concept for some people watching, that's all, as well, that you know, to want to get involved, and you know, that there are even herbalists that do walks, might be new information. So definitely, you know, good to look into that. Yeah,
well, my favorite teacher, Christopher Headley, he was one of the main lecturers at the college in London, and he used to take us out of the classroom and into Regent's Park. And we'd walk past the College of Physicians garden, and we'd walk into Regent's Park, and we must have spent 2-3 hours and got about 20-25 herbs, medicinal plants, knowledge of on that walk. So the parks are great.
Yeah, I did my flower remedy training at Regent's Park as well, so it was lovely. Yeah, it's some nice big trees there as well. Yeah,
and little hidey bits.
Yeah, can't forage there though. I don't think you can pick things in the parks.
No, but you can look. You can look and learn.
Yeah.
Connect. Yeah.
So Jenny, if somebody would like to get in touch with you, how do they do that? Because I'm hoping that everybody's watching this has gone, what a fascinating woman, I want to know more. That's what I would be thinking.
Good. Well, I've got a Facebook page, and my name since I started the community farm work is Herb Infusion Co.
Okay.
So that's a Facebook page, Herb Infusion Co.
And what I'll do is I'll pop it in the comments underneath as well, so everybody's got a link.
Okay, and then you could also email me.
Okay.
So we could put that in the underneath.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good.
Fabulous.
And as I say, I'm in Lancashire, and I'm on the Lancaster Canal, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting out and doing towpath walks again. And
really good.
And towpath workshops.
I know
go on.
No, I say I know you're very practical and you're very hands-on. Do you also do online consultations for people if they can't get near you?
Yes, I do. I've been doing them online for quite a while, especially because I've relocated from south to north, so I do have quite a few long distance patients. So it's not ideal, but it can be done, especially with a video. I can look at your tongue, I can look at your skin, you know, so distance isn't ideal. Obviously face to face is best, but it is really possible to do a pretty thorough consultation longer distance. Yes, I do.
Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we sort of wrap up? Thank you so much for this, by the way. I think it's just been so fascinating, and actually it's just been so nice to chat, because I haven't chatted to you for a while. So actually sitting down, it's kind of like the only thing missing is the cups of teas between us.
I know. Yeah, and the nice smell of Himalayan incense stick or something.
Exactly.
I loved that incense.
Yeah, I've still got some. It's a bit old now, but I've still got some.
Yeah, just really quickly, if anyone wants a tea and they're struggling to think what to put in it, and they want to do this preventative and they want to look after themselves, they can get in touch with me, and I can put them in touch with their local supplier. So what I'm trying to do is started this map, and it's a map of the herbalists that I know personally, and I've watched them grow and deepen their knowledge. And they're herbalists like Di and I have talked about, who are getting their hands in the earth and growing. So they're good harvesters. So getting you in touch with your local herbalist. I'm doing region by region, not town by town. It'll be like Dorset, Devon, and then they could do a micro list.
Yeah, that network though is fantastic.
Yes.
And actually that's the beautiful thing about, I think now, 2020 going into 2021, age of Aquarius, is that networking, information, that kind of connections with each other, and that speed and communication is going to be key, I think.
Sufficiency on a local level is a really important thing. Sufficiency in our own health, as far as we can, and sufficiency on a local level, getting together. And then you might be inspired to go on a foraging walk with this herbalist if you can get some tea from them or something. But yeah,
I'm going to look for one locally, and I'm going to try and get my daughter to go on a foraging walk with me.
I'll find your regional one.
That would be fabulous. Yes, do. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jenny. I've absolutely loved chatting with you, and I always learn something new when I chat with you as well. And I hope that everybody watching this has learned something new. And as usual, I'll say do leave comments if you'd like to leave comments, and let us know that you enjoyed this. And I will pop Jenny's details in the comments as well, so that you can contact Jenny if you want to. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Pleasure. It's been lovely. I forgot that it was being videoed. It's just like having a chat. It's really good. Well, not quite forgot, but Yeah,
no, I know it has been. It has been. It's nice
really
to be
relaxed.
Thank you so much, Jenny, and I will speak to you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, thank you for your work, and take care.
Bye.